All right, guys, welcome to the Talk and Shed podcast. Today is early April. It's the 6th, and we've got a few guests in-house today, some new, some old. Let's start with the newest guest, Sam Hoagland. Sam, what's up?
Oh, not much, guys. How is everybody?
Oh, we're good.
Good.
We're good.
Oh, yeah.
It's early April. Crunch time is hanging over our head, and thought we'd get everyone together and record a podcast. The last one we did, we had Dad and Lee and Gunkelman and Cody up here. Had a pretty good time. Hunter, what are you up to today?
Just trying to keep it all straight and get everything squared away before the weekend.
Yep. If you guys remember, we did a podcast with Hunter at the Louisville Farm Show. Is that right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
So Hunter's on board with us for 2-3 months now.
Yeah, since January.
All right, Hunter, keep going. If you guys remember, we did a podcast with Hunter at the Louisville Farm Show.
Yep.
Hunter covers pretty much most of Indiana. He's out of Winchester?
Winchester, yeah.
Is that right? Okay. So we did a podcast with him for a while. And then, of course, we've got Cody with us again today. And
He always sounds like it's just such a terrible thing that
so,
I'm here.
don't know what we're going to talk about today, but probably all kinds of different things. Sam, let's dive into your role here. Some guys that follow the podcast or the email blast or YouTube have probably seen some projects that you've been working on before. I've taken pictures and videos of them in the shop. Let's dive into what in the world you do.
So I have heard my name on the podcast a few times, and you show off what I do. I'm a fabricator, welder, been doing that for 20 years now. Worked in all kinds of different fields, but I've never felt like I've been given the freedom to really do projects how I want to do them until I've worked here.
Sure.
And I find that great. As long as I'm not going crazy, it's whatever I want to do. And I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as many of you know, a lot of stuff we do doesn't even exist sometimes.
Yeah. Quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah.
S2S units. We're diving into the wide drop bars now, and just millions of tank brackets. Like just all the tank brackets in the world that you could ever think of on everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys that get planter tank brackets, Cody and I are getting ready to deliver some to Beards down in Southeast Ohio that Hunter had sold. Devin and Sam had a big part of that. Any tank bracket, really, you had a hand in, whether it's designing them or welding them up.
Yeah, so typically when we get a call, if it's a planter we haven't done, we go just pull some measurements on it, dream it up, draw it up, fab it, weld it, and get it powder coated and send it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big part of it. If we need anything, because we're not the typical dealer. Not everything has a part number. Sometimes you have to create some of that stuff. So Sam and Devin have been a big asset to dream the stuff up. Like, we'll have a rough idea, or the customer will, but then they will line it up and say, well, you need gussets here, this strength's here, and actually put it into something that's for real. What do you think gives you the knack for metal? And I mean, obviously, been doing it for 20 years. There's some trial and error there probably, but like, what is it that makes you love metal and be so well versed in it? So
this is going to sound funny, but I was born poor. So I've had to build everything I've ever wanted,
Sure.
And it always requires welding, fabrication, machining, and in that process of building whatever I wanted, whether it be when I was a kid, it was always motorcycles or dirt bikes, and then I got a little older and it was cars, and then I got a little older than that and realized that I had a family and I had to take care of them, and you can make money doing this. So
sure.
That's really where I grew my love for it, is just being able to build the things I want.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I wish I could temporarily rewind the clock to how we did metal fabrication before Sam 4 or 5 years ago, and it was literally with a bandsaw and a grinder, and we had a welder too, but it was pretty crude. You can imagine. We made it work for what we were doing, but we were just starting to dabble into that kind of stuff. We would make tank brackets every now and then. We would have to outsource a lot of that stuff. But yeah, Sam has been able to stretch our ability and really reach out. Why don't you dive into the newest project that we're doing? You briefed on it, the Y-drop toolbars in-house. What's that going to entail?
So I just bought a new tool, or you guys actually bought a new tool today that I said I wanted. It is a rotary weld positioner, and it's going to be like you tack bushings into a plate, you set the plate on the rotary, and you get it dialed in with how fast you want to weld, and you can make the entire weld of the bushing at once. So there's no cold spot in that bushing. And it's mostly tools. Tools are key, you know, and they always are. And we continue to get more tools and more dangerous with the weld and fab.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with the Y-drop toolbar, I don't question that it's out of our ability. We both know that. But probably, what do you think maybe the biggest hurdle is? I know them fixtures, you're taking a lot of time on those fixtures to make them because it's got to be right. And so walk through the fixture process. For a lot of people who don't know how this manufacturing works, you don't just line two tubes together at a 90 degree and lay a bead on them, right?
Yeah, no, not at all. The fixturing is going to be huge. A lot of the fixture stuff I've made with our plasma and what we have at the shop, there's been some parts that are more picky that I had a couple of the other guys help draw them up, Justin, and we were going to send them out and be lasered to mortise and tendon the fixture together.
Sure.
And then, so without a doubt, that fixture will be square to build, like the hooks to go on the front of the Y-drop. And a few other problem areas that we've had before that definitely we're going to take our time on the fixturing, so that stuff is not a problem anymore.
Sure. I think, what's unique in one of the bigger gaps between someone who can do a little bit of fabbing and this and that, but a big deal, I think, is being able to throw it on a drawing, like an actual computer.
Yes.
Like you can say, I'm going to make this square table for my wife, whatever, out of a bandsaw and a welder. But when you go start designing and drawing things, putting them on a CAD program to roll them, measure, and send off prints, that's a game changer.
Yeah, when a guy can see what he's building before he's building it, it's huge.
Yeah.
It takes hours of guesswork out of the whole process, and that is huge.
Mm-hmm. And do you remember the fear and hesitation we had to get the 4x4 Lincoln plasma?
So you guys had got that just before me.
Okay.
But yes, Devin told me about the hesitation, and I'm sure that it comes with a huge price tag, but look at what it's made now.
Oh yeah, I mean, and at that time, like I said, we were just kind of starting to dabble in it, and it's just one of them things you don't know. And man, that thing hums every day now. And well, now the bigger one does probably more, but we've outgrown the 4x4.
We've outgrown the 4x4, but I still use it because it sits right by me. Yeah, I love them both.
Yeah, they're handy. So yeah, there's a lot of fab stuff that we're working on, and it's amazing what. We sell equipment. We sell the Salfords pre-made. 80% of our sales today are probably still pre-made from a vendor. Mm-hmm. But to be nimble enough and have the ability to
diversify yourself a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean,
it's huge.
Yeah, it's just guys will call and hey, I want this, and it's like, well, we can do that. Whether it's a tank on the back of a J&M or you name it. What's some of the crazier projects we've done that you could think of, Sam?
So that we took that Landlover bar, and the road units got sold off of it.
Yes,
We made the whole bar lift, come out of the ground, and we put an S2S unit on the top of it. That was quite the project.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The Salford 6056 seater on the back of that small Heggy.
DTS.
DT, yeah.
Yep.
That was a crazy project. It had to build catwalks and everything for it.
Yep, that thing was sweet.
Yeah, that came out really nice.
Yeah.
And there was that, and then we threw a cedar on the back of a J&M.
Yeah.
We threw a cedar on the back of the J&M.
Oh, yeah. Last year for Seth up in Bucyrus, Ohio. Well, up in that way.
Yep. And we put S2S units on it and whatnot. And the whole 9 yards. So, I think definitely diversifying it. And, we always talk about Sam, how he likes to play with metal like it's Play-Doh. But it's definitely one of those deals to where you're definitely a big asset for not only the company, but us as salesmen, because we know if we bring you a project, we know that you and Devin are going to be able to figure something out to get it to where it needs to be.
I'm glad I make it look like I'm playing with Play-Doh, because it feels a lot harder than that most of the time.
Well, it gives us the absence of fear when we're out selling. It's like, well, if something doesn't fit, we'll end up making it fit, or if that doesn't work, we'll make it work. I forget who it was. It was you the other day, I think, said, hey, can we fit a 500-gallon tank on the this and this drill? I said, I'm sure we can. Just get it sold, and we'll go find one, draw it up, and it'll fit right up there.
Somehow, some way, we'll make it happen.
We'll make it work.
There's a way.
Yeah. Yep. So, a lot of the projects we do, like I said, don't exist. So we gotta have to make them exist. So, let's talk about what else Sam does. I know you cut a lot of firewood.
Oh yeah, tons.
Yeah.
I have a giant old farmhouse that is not insulated very well, and my wife likes it to be T minus 80 degrees in there.
I see.
Yep.
So, pretty good at cutting wood.
By force, not by will. By force, I am.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
He's a professional tree faller.
Yeah.
Oh, tree faller.
Yep.
Is it
lumberjack?
Woodchuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What else does Sam enjoy doing?
I've got a handful of kids. The third one's on the way now.
Yep.
I thoroughly enjoy my children.
Yep.
I like Harley Davidsons.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, but my wife says babies can't ride on Harley Davidson, so...
Well, they're not babies forever.
Yeah, but it seems like the stretch in between one to the other,
Yeah.
I never don't have a baby.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that'll slow down eventually, maybe. I don't know.
Hopefully after this one.
Yeah. Yeah. I see. Yeah, so we how long you been here? 2, 3?
I'm just shy of 2 years right now.
Yeah. That sounds about right. Yep. So I can't think of any other projects that we're working on right now other than mainly the Y-drop bar, a bunch of tank brackets. Can't think of any big ones right now.
We've minimized the tank brackets so from the first year I was here to the second year, we pre-ordered like all the materials we needed for the brackets, and we had them pre-cut and everything, and I just
went to town.
Yeah, pretty much like an assembly line, just welded them up, and it went so much better since, like you said before, we have drawings. Somebody orders this tank on this plan, or we already know what the bracket looks like, so we can build it. So yeah, that's been minimalized on my work table.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Y drop bar thing right now is pretty big for me. It'll be day in and day out here for the next couple months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I don't know. What did Kyle say we moved the other day? How many this year?
Y drop bars?
Yeah, do we have sold? I forget.
I thought it was 23.
I was going to say, I think it's north of 20.
Sounds about right. So for people who don't understand what all it takes to go from wanting to get something on it, let's just say a planner, to getting it on the planner, walk through what that takes, like from going there, seeing it, doing the measurement, getting Justin drawn up, all that.
So like you said, it typically starts out, we have to find that planner, and that doesn't always, just because it's the same model doesn't always mean it's the same planner.
Yeah.
From year to year, a bracket gets moved, this, that, the other thing, guide wheels, things get moved every year.
They move a gusset or something.
Yeah, and it totally ruins what I did the year before. So, yeah, you find the planner, you measure it up, and you have to make sure that it's the exact planner, bar none. You have to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then I make a sketch with measurements on it. Then typically Justin and I will sit down, him and I draw everything so he can read my chicken scratch. He draws it on the computer, but I just guide him through what I measured.
Sure.
After that, ordering metal, if we don't already have it in stock, but we have a pretty good stock anymore of the metal, then typically burn out the flat plate, cut the tubing, weld and fab, clean up, off to the powder coater, and then to the customer. Usually, I'd say it can be done in a week and a half time,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, depending on if we have to wait on metal and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, so basically you'll draw it up, take the thumb drive over to the computer on the plasma, let the plasma basically read what's on the thumb drive, kind of guide the plasma a little bit.
Yep, just punch in your metal thickness and then it does it.
Yeah, push the button and it spits out what you envisioned in your mind.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing. I don't really follow the process a whole lot, but it's amazing. You watch the plasma over there running, and all of a sudden something pretty accurate and cool gets spit out, and at the end of the day, that's what gets slapped on. It's pretty neat. I can't tell you the amount of time we used to wait on stuff like that. Like it'd be 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, to get on anybody's laser or plasma table around here, it's a week wait from when you ask for it, and then another week to ship. Yeah. And that's just, it goes to show how well we do economically around here.
Yeah, there's a lot of fabrication shops around, but they're all still pretty busy too.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's the gist of how that process works. Because for those who don't know, and I still don't have it figured out, but I've learned a lot more than what I used to. I never really knew how in the world you could get to something that's in your mind to a real hard product.
Right. It's a process that not a very few people know. There's very few people that build a project from beginning to end. Now there's factories and where there'll be a guy that runs a press brake and a guy that runs a plasma and a guy that runs a welder, but I don't know too many people that are, weld, fab, machine,
and draw.
Do a whole project I don't know too many of them.
Yeah, because there could be 4 people involved. Like if I sell something, maybe me and Devin go look at it, Justin draws it up, and you weld it. Mm-hmm. There's 4 people there,
right?
And everyone kind of has their spot, and they do what they need to do and pass it on at the end of the day. And then we go to powder coat.
Right.
That's another step, another person.
Yeah.
Too. Walk through what you know about the powder coat process.
So I take a lot of parts to powder coat. Jack, he's great. He has to wash every part first, wash it or sandblast it, and then he hangs it in his paint cabinet, and it has like a positive charge on it, and the powder has a negative charge, and he covers the part with the powder, and then shoves it into the oven to bake, and it's the most resilient, metal finish I know of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when it goes in the oven, it's probably going to have like a grayish color or some color not related to the actual color.
Yeah, sometimes the color they put on is nothing like the end product. And it's typically dull, the powder's dull, and some of the most vibrant colors. Like he's even got a 2-part now where he can put a clear coat on top of a color already, so you could say wax it, buff it, and it would have that protective layer on it. Yeah, it's amazing.
I see. And so when you throw it in the oven, does it melt down those particles so that it then
Yeah, melts and adheres. Yeah.
I see.
Yep.
I see. I've picked up some stuff, I've dropped some stuff off, but I've always kind of been amazed at that process.
Yeah, if you get a chance, Jack Evans, he's totally open to tell you whatever you want to know, but he's great. He's right down the road from us. He does an awesome job.
Yeah, it makes it handy, and we take a lot of stuff there down the road, easy to get to. And powder coats are a choice because I believe it's also the best protective you can get.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've done a fair amount of work that will go into factories on machine lines, and a paint, the coolant from the machines will start to break that paint down immediately. The paint will literally run off. And I started having stuff powder coated back then in the early 2000s when that paint was a problem, and there's been nothing like it, nothing like it to ever come out.
Yeah. Yeah. So we powder coat all of our stuff here, and it really gives it a really nice, shiny, and hard protective coat.
It holds up to the fertilizers. Yeah. Other than using stainless, I wouldn't know what else to do. It's
sure
the powder's the way to go.
Yeah. Hunter, let's talk about what you've been up to lately.
I've just been
anything.
Depends on, I guess. Yeah, I've been plenty busy trying to get out and see as many people as possible, and just get back with them as quick as I can, and just trying to balance work and personal life and everything, and keep it on straight.
Being a few months in, Dad may have said, you're kind of coming into this at kind of go time. You think it's go time?
I think we're almost there.
Yeah. I mean,
sure seems like it.
How the amount of phone calls and stuff, is it surprising?
Some days, and some days I can correlate it to how bad the weather is, because if it's real nice out, guys are outside, they're doing field work now. But if it's a crappy, nasty day like we've had this week, a lot more phone calls. Mm-hmm. Or back when we were having snow, guys are inside and they'll straight up tell you it's a snowy Saturday.
Yeah,
just curious what you got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So I think we briefed on your background a little bit, but you've been in ag for a while.
Yeah. About all my life. Yeah.
Yep. How do you think the ag sales is maybe different, machinery sales anyway, than maybe what you're used to?
There's a lot more differentiation, I guess, because a lot of options. I mean, you can tailor most products, or say make a tank bracket. I mean, you can tailor it specifically to what a guy wants, which is completely different than, say, like when I was working at the co-op, working with commodities. Everything's all the same, and you're basically working off price alone.
Right.
And relationships, of course. But no, I'd say it's more, I guess, what we have to offer here and the diverse product line. And I mean, like you said, they're well-made tank brackets. I mean, I didn't have a problem. Mr. Beard, he just asked if we could do that, and I said, yeah, of course. They're well-made, and, you know, I sent him pictures of ones you guys done in the past, and he's like all in. So,
Yeah, we're going to go install those tomorrow. So
hopefully they don't fall off the truck.
I hope not.
Might have to repowder coat them, I guess. But, yeah, you know, I feel pretty decent with where we're at, given the time of year. I struggle to say that a little bit because you don't know what you don't know. You know, there's problems out there that aren't going to arise until the hitch pin gets dropped in the tool and it hits the field, and all of a sudden, you know, something happens. You know, so the problems are stashed away in a barn that are just haven't been exposed to the sunlight yet.
Yep.
But as far as getting jobs completed and stuff, I feel pretty confident. I know Devin and I talked earlier in the week, and there was a goal to finish every planter this week, and we're going to come close. There will be, I think there's 2 that I'm aware of that we'll have to finish next week. But, you know, with the weather coming up, there's going to be guys running next week.
Yeah.
Especially where we're going tomorrow at Beards. You know, you get south of 70, and if it's 70 here, it's going to be 80 degrees down there.
Yeah.
And so this stuff's going to dry out quick. We had, I don't know, I think we had an inch of rain yesterday, give or take. But, you know, stuff like that can dry out pretty quick with 3 or 4 days of really good hot weather.
Yeah.
Is he southern Indiana?
He is southeast Ohio.
I gotcha.
Yep. So like Lancaster?
Yeah.
Pretty close to that.
I was in Tennessee last weekend, and it looked like people were ready to go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's amazing how you don't have to go too far south, and it's just greener already.
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
yeah, the trees in Tennessee were sprouting everything. Yeah,
I don't know. It's weird. I just noticed some trees, you know, a few days ago. You could kind of start seeing them. Heck, down there, it's probably, you know, a lot further along. But it's amazing how you don't have to get very far, and it's totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember back, me and Jeff Worley, our Yetta rep, went to New Orleans for the Commodity Classic in early March. And we drove down, and I think I met him in Illinois. I had to go out there for something, and then we drove down to New Orleans. And it was, 20, 30 degrees. And just as we crept down there, you know, just greener and greener. You get down there and it's shorts, and it's just unbelievable how much that changes. I know it's kind of common sense, but until you do it, you don't understand it.
Yeah,
right.
Put it in perspective.
Yeah. I mean, there's knee-high corn in Texas right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Do they grow a couple crops a year?
In certain spots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. When Zach Meyer and I were in Florida at Alliance Dairy, we mounted a Valmar seeder on his case tool in Florida. We drove down there and installed it, and I've never been in a hotter place in my life. And we got there at about midnight the one night, and we were so tired, but we were like, this is going to be the coolest it's going to be when we're here.
Yeah.
So we toughed it out, and we worked until about 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And then we went to the hotel and slept until noon and came back and wrapped it up. I mean, they had misters that were 20 feet tall, 30 feet wide, so their employees could just drive the tractors through them to cool them off. I mean, it was bad. And it was crazy. But what I'm getting at is they had a dairy down there, and I'm thinking, a dairy in Florida, what? That makes no sense.
Right.
You would think the cows would just produce nothing. Well, they have so much water that they just missed everything. Mm-hmm. The wells and the water table so shallow.
Yeah.
And so they can grow multiple crops of corn. I think 3 crops under pivot of corn in a year. So they've got abundant feed and abundant water, the 2 most important resources when you're milking cows.
True.
So
Probably wonderful for cows then.
yeah, if you can keep them cool enough with the water. So I found that very interesting. And then they shipped a lot of their heifer calves up here to Darke County, Ohio to get fed.
Oh, really?
Yep. Until I think right before breeding, then they would go back down. They had a custom grower that would feed them. They'd ship them from Florida to Darke County, Ohio, feed them out, and right before breeding, they'd ship them back and breed them and do all that.
Yeah, that's what the Sickles family over there in Randolph County, that's what they do. One of their biggest, I think at one point they were up to 18,000 that they raised for
Wow.
and beers over around Bern. That's
Yeah.
exactly what they do as well.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's amazing how logistically, I mean, you would think that's crazy, but I don't know.
Geographically, it never ceases to amaze me how differently people farm.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not personally a farmer, but I find it very interesting, you know, how differently people do it from one place to another.
It is.
But if you talk to anybody around here, you know, this is the only way to do it.
Right.
But you go, you know, 5 hours south, they're totally different. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I've spent some time in like Nebraska and the Dakotas, and the whole thing out there is everything just sits outside. Not a big deal. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but around here, everything's got a shed, you know, to be parked in.
Right.
And then you get into I forget what the heck they call them, where they like a bed. They like dig a bed and plant the crop up on the bed.
A terrace. Terraces.
Is it a terrace?
Ridge.
I don't know, because I don't know if terraces are where you farm on like a hillside.
So yeah, that's where you cut it and make it flat.
Yeah.
Like a stair step.
Oh, you're thinking something different.
Yeah, I think so. So I've got a farmer in Illinois. He just started doing this. He mounds the corn row.
Like a ridge tail.
Yes. He mounds the corn row up for a ridge, plants the corn on top of that ridge, and then flood irrigates the field.
I see.
And the water goes down in between the hills.
Right.
The little beds.
Yeah.
And he seems to be having pretty good luck with it. I think he runs like a 3-point planter.
Yeah.
And runs it that way. But that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. See a lot of that in Nebraska, certain places.
Yeah. Yeah, it is amazing. And then you get into cotton.
Oh yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen it growing.
And pecans. When Zach and I made the Florida trip, we also installed a cedar in Georgia. And it was a big pecan grower. And I mean pecan trees. And pecan or pecan, depending on who you talk to.
That's another geographic thing.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then peaches. There were peaches everywhere. And it was amazing. And the dirt is just so much different.
Yeah.
Down there was like blow sand, kind of. I mean, and you get to Illinois and you've got some black stuff. And around here, there's a lot of clay. But it's amazing how the water plays so much into that. Of course, Texas, you know, they live and die by the water. You know, they can have a lot of crops down there. But if it's dry, because it's always... Everyone I talk to in Texas always talks about the wind. Like they're right there on the coast and it's so windy. So I think that sucks up a lot of that moisture.
And my mom and dad live in Galveston half the year, and they say it can get very windy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of the thing.
Yeah.
And West Texas, the weather coming out of the mountains is hit and miss. You know, it's hard to track.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, you know, if there's like, I don't know if there's much stuff planted yet in like Tennessee and down there. Did you see any fields that had been planted, you thought?
No, where I was up in the mountains, and mostly they just had like cattle or horses grazing, you know. I didn't see anything necessarily planted. Nor did I see a place where they could necessarily plant anything either.
If they wanted to. Yeah, I know in Kentucky, it's, you know, kind of the western half. The eastern half of Kentucky's nothing but hills. And I'm not familiar enough with Tennessee to know the difference there. But
similar.
Yeah, I do have a gentleman in Tennessee, Tim King, got him a rate controller and stuff for his planter. I think he might be rolling. I think he might be planting. I don't know that for a fact. I know he was sitting on the edge there and I talked to him Monday. I talked to him Friday, but I don't remember. But heck, it's Thursday already. He's got to be playing, depending on if he got some of that rain and stuff, I guess, yesterday. But yeah. What else do we need to talk about? Sam, you got any fun facts for today?
Give me a subject. What do you want to know fun fact about?
Well, we need to hit on the fact and get a little bit into Sam's history. So Sam's actually a veteran.
Yes, that is true. Mm-hmm. Yes, let's talk about fun facts about that. Sam, let's talk about some fun facts about veteran. You being a veteran and the history and what you know about that type of stuff. Now, keep in mind, this SD card only holds 6 hours of audio.
So I was in the Navy for a hike. I joined in 2004. I got out in late 2007. So I was in for just shy of 4 years active duty. And then I did another 2 years of active reserves. So when I first joined, I went to where everybody goes, Great Lakes, Illinois, right on Lake Michigan. That is where the first naval carrier, like aircraft carrier, was launched at. It was another boat, and I'm not sure, it had a wood deck, and they launched airplanes off of it right there in Lake Michigan and flew them. Yep. Yeah, that's where the first one was. After that, I went... got out of boot camp. I went across the street in Great Lakes, Illinois, and I went to diesel school. Got out of diesel school, and I went to the Little Creek base in Norfolk, Virginia, and I was on the USS Gunston Hall, which is a flat bottom boat. It's been decommissioned here recently, but I was on there for 2 deployments, and we went to the exact same place both times. But yeah, went across, stopped in Africa, floated around Africa for a while, went through the Straits of Gibraltar, Mediterranean Sea, into the Red Sea, dropped Marines off around Kuwait. We went to another naval base over there called Bahrain and stayed there, got some repairs for a while. And then we'd head back. You'd stop in Europe, a string of islands called Seychelles. I've been to Greece. I've been to Italy, Split, Croatia, Djibouti, Africa. A laundry list of European countries. But yeah, I was on a flat bottom boat. It was like pretty much a pickup for the Marines, a pickup truck for the Marines. We would take their equipment, and about 900 Marines we would take them over to the Middle East, drop them off, and we'd head back.
I see. Just transporting.
That's all we did. And I just worked on diesels the whole time.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
And welded also.
Okay.
But once they figure out you can weld, they won't let you go.
I see. Interesting. So you say you were 4 years?
Yeah.
In 4 years you did all that? That type of transportation stuff?
Yes. Yeah. But 4 years. So you would spend, even if you weren't on a deployment, you wouldn't spend very much time in port. I would say 2 or 3 weeks out of every month you would go out to sea, just to keep the ship ready, everything working, everything lubed up.
Yeah.
You never spent too much time in port.
Yeah. Just keep everything rolling.
Yeah, that's the name of it. The ship's always got to stay ready for, the next problem.
Sure. Now, is that type of stuff still going on today? Or was that mainly because of what was going on at that time?
No, it's still going on today. I still have quite a few friends that are in the military. one of my very good buddies' brother is a master chief, and he stays deployed almost constantly. Like when he comes back from a deployment, they'll fly him to another ship that is deployed, so it can keep track. And he's an engineman too.
I see.
So yeah, that's what he does. But yeah, constantly out to sea. And I don't know so much about the West Coast. I've never sailed with those guys. I've only sailed out of the East Coast, so I don't know how it goes over there. But on the East Coast, you stay out to sea.
I see. What kind of stuff would you weld on at that time?
Any part that would break. Like I remember valve covers on the engines. They had these latches that would, so those engines, each cylinder had its own cylinder head. And the valve covers on there, they were like a quick release so you could get in there and work on something. When you'd flip those latches around, they would break. I'd weld on them constantly. Leaks, handrails, anything structurally that would break inside the ship. Now I've never welded on, let's say, the outside of the ship or anything, but just parts.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. And how big of a ship you talking?
So I think, now don't quote me on this, but I think that ship was 160 some feet wide, 300, just shy of 400 feet long. And it was a flat bottom boat, so it didn't go very far underwater. Maybe about 19 or 20 feet would be underwater, and then above water, probably like a good size 2.5 story house out of water.
I see.
Nah, probably bigger than that even.
Yeah.
It was small compared to a carrier, but still huge.
Yeah.
We had 300 and some crew, and then we could take about 900 more Marines on.
Dang.
Anytime. Yeah. Plus all of their trucks, tanks. The boat had this thing called a well deck, where it was pretty much like a tailgate, and you would ballast down and take other boats inside of that boat and transport them.
Really?
Yeah.
I see.
It's cool stuff. Very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And so do you think a lot of that stuff's different today?
Yeah. From what I understand, a lot of the diesel ships are being decommissioned. Everything is going to gas turbine or nuclear powered. They don't have boilers to make water very much anymore. They use RO systems. So that was one of my jobs when I was on the ship, was to make water, drinkable water. So we would take seawater, run it through a boiler and an evap. All the good water would go to the top. We'd pump all the salt out, and then that's the water we used on the ship. I don't think they have those anymore. I think they use reverse osmosis systems. Most of the diesels are on their way out. A lot of nuclear power now.
Yeah.
Did the water taste pretty different compared to like regular water?
Yeah, so we would have to put some of our own chemicals in it,
Mm-hmm.
And they called it desalination, getting the salt out. But yeah, it's definitely had its own taste.
Yeah.
You could tell, like if you were in port and you bought some bottled water and adverse to the water we made, you could definitely tell the difference of what we could make compared to,
Aquafina.
Yeah, a company that does that for a living. It was definitely drinkable. It just wasn't nearly as delicious,
So you don't miss it.
I don't miss being in the Navy, but I would never take back doing it. I think, every 18-year-old kid should have to do some sort of civil service, military, something. You know, I just
Yeah.
But I'm planning on sending my boy to one of the forces. You know, I just think kids need that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as far as like ranking goes in the Navy, how's that all go by?
So you have enlisted, and then you have officers. And in my 4 years, I made it to an E4, and then when I was in an E4 in the Navy is called a third class petty officer. And then when I was in the active reserves, I made it to E5, which would be a second class petty officer. So you go clear up to E9, and E9 in the Navy is a master chief. And then the officers, I think there are 10 ranks as an officer. An admiral, a full bird admiral, and that would be, no, they're not a bird. That's captains. Captains are a bird. I forget which insignia admirals are, but there's 4 different ranks within inside that rank, you know. So, which would take a lifetime.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And was it achievements or duration of time that changed that, or both?
What's that?
Rank to rank.
Both. So you have to test. Whenever you want to make rank, you have to test to make rank. And then you have however many people are in the same, that work the same job as you in that rank. And to make the next, there's only, they select, you know, a small portion of you to make the next rank. And yeah, you have to test every time. And then you also have to get recommendations to make the next rank. It's a process. It's a definite process.
Mm-hmm. I see. Interesting. You mentioned diesels. What a lot of us are obviously aware of the DEF situation on diesels.
Yes.
What does that do to, obviously all diesels today have it. What does that do? Obviously it could shorten the lifespan of a diesel, but how?
Okay, so DEF, diesel exhaust fluid. DEF gets injected into a DPF, which is a diesel particulate filter. And then that DEF, it cleans the soot out of the DPF. And then it runs a regen, so it regens the DPF. And it cleans that out so you get that soot out, but the DPF stops the diesel from blowing the black smoke out. And it greatly affects the life of a diesel just due to the fact of how hard it makes a diesel work. And it's not the DEF alone that's making the diesel work. It's the DPF that they're choked down so much that they have to work twice as hard to, do the same output as what they did before. So today it's not uncommon for a diesel pickup, let's say a pickup, to make 400 horse. But to get it to make that 400 horse is twice as hard as it was pre-emissions, and DEF is inherently corrosive. It'll wear the paint right off your car, and it's just a lot harder on everything because it makes everything work twice as hard.
Mm-hmm. I see. It's basically a nitrogen-based product, isn't it? Urea, obviously.
Yeah. It's urea water.
Yeah. I wonder what percent nitrogen that stuff is.
I think it's 45.
Really? Huh.
Because urea is 45 or 46%. I think the last time I checked, it's 45.
Yeah, I didn't know how much they watered that down.
Not much at all.
I see. Yeah, this stuff is pretty corrosive.
Yeah, I don't know about straight urea or nitrogen. That it... Well, I guess it does wear bare metal pretty bad. Yeah, that would be fertilizer. Yeah.
So that's why if you get it on the ground, it dries up. It's salt.
Yeah, it'll be like a crystal.
Yeah.
It crystallizes.
Yeah,
Yep.
you can see that under our def tank in the shop.
Yeah, when I broke the nozzle off of it and took a bath in it, you could see it.
When was this?
It was at the old shop.
Oh, okay.
I was getting the generator welder down and got into it with the forklift and broke that nozzle off and just took a bath in it.
How did you stop it?
It had a valve there that once I got off the forklift and got it out of my eyes, I could shut it off.
Oh shoot! I think we could. I think we're all pretty good at equipment and what we do in manufacturing, but I think there's some revenue to be generated off of hiring someone to just film the bloopers and what we do on a day-to-day basis and sell it for content.
Just don't show it to your dad.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd have to have a password to watch it. We just won't tell him. But I do.
Baloney one.
Don't tell Gary.
Yeah, I do think we could generate some revenue.
Yeah,
there.
that's a whole job right there. That'd be a whole job.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, the road trips.
Oh yeah.
And the conversations on road trips. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know. I don't get to go as many of them as I used to, but I do enjoy them every now and then. I can't be gone like I used to, but I do miss just waking up and really kind of thinking you have a pretty good grasp on the day, and all of a sudden by 2 p.m. you're in Central Illinois and had no intentions of it.
Yeah. You go to sleep in one city, wake up in another. Yep.
Yeah, I had a Snapchat memory show up 2 days ago, and I sent it to Zach Meyer because he was with me. Kevin had sold an anhydrous bar to Southwest Indiana, maybe, and customer got it, and he was doing pre-plant anhydrous, so he's running like right now. And he goes out to the field to run it, opens up his anhydrous tank, and anhydrous starts coming out immediately. Whereas what's supposed to happen is it doesn't put on anhydrous until you tell it to, right? You put it in the ground, but as soon as he opens the tank, it comes out. Like, oh man. Well, he's like, well, I mean, I'm ready to go. He's 3.5 hours from here, and I mean, it was like noon. So Zach and I like looked at each other, like, I guess we're heading there. So we jump in the truck, and oh man, it wasn't until we ended up changing the whole cooler, I think, out on that thing that night.
That was like right whenever I first started.
Yeah.
You guys did that.
Yeah, I think we first tried a valve. Woody had us try a valve that wasn't closing all the way, maybe. That didn't cut it, so we were convinced that the insides were rusted out of the cooler, and so we put a Continental cooler replacement kit on it, and so that's not a quick process. So I don't know. It was late. It was super late. I don't know. The only place open, I think, was like a Wendy's. We were starving, but we didn't get home until probably in the morning. Yeah. But that stuff used to happen a lot, and it might still today. Like I said, some of that stuff just kind of happens, but we've
unforeseen issues that haven't arisen yet that we don't know that we have to deal with.
Right.
But,
yeah.
And that we know it's gonna happen. Think about all the stuff that we've sold in the years past. All those guys are gonna call us to say, hey, well, we need to get this
anhydrous
running.
bars are hard because all you can do is throw some air to them and see if they hold air. It doesn't exactly test everything on it. There's a lot, and you can't just have an anhydrous tank sitting out here and see if it works. Just can't quite do that.
Crank it on.
Touch dangerous.
Yeah. So, but yeah, trips like that, I do miss sometimes from time to time because it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you very sharp, and then when that problem arises again, you don't forget that, and you can troubleshoot it.
You know how to fix it, and oh yeah, definitely. Like last year, I sold an anhydrous bar. It just seems like it's the anhydrous time right now, And so me and your dad, it was the day that we were getting ready to go fish.
Yeah.
And I had my customer call me, and I'm like, oh gosh, okay, what's wrong? Well, this, and this, okay. And, all right, well, we get over there, and I ended up swapping out the whole Continental cooler because I'm pretty sure that he froze the O-rings in it, and he broke the O-rings in it.
Because I think the rate was set different.
Yeah, the rate was set wrong in the controller or something.
And so
like that.
The valve opened up all the way, and so it shoved all this anhydrous that was pressurized in the tank into the cooler, and it got it so cold that I think it busted out all the O-rings. Brand new bar.
Yeah,
right?
brand new bar. Yeah. Yep. So I woke up and left the farm at 7:00 with your dad, and we went over there and started working on it. And
yeah, anhydrous is weird. I mean, it can.
To today, nobody can tell me what exactly happens inside of one of these anhydrous coolers.
I used to be able to.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I can give it a shot, but so it has to do with the boiling temperature of the anhydrous plays a big part into it. So anhydrous in today's temperature would instantly turn to a gas.
Okay.
Instantly because of its boiling temperature.
And you want it to hit the ground as a liquid?
You want it to. It rarely does.
I see.
Because so it's stored in that big container under pressure, because it's only liquid under two ways: high pressure and temperature.
I see.
So it's in there as a liquid, and we want it to stay a liquid at least until we can meter it, because you can meter liquid, but you can't easily meter gas.
Right.
I can't say that you can't meter gas, because you can, but so the cooler is a way to get it from the tank through a meter while keeping it
in a liquid state
as long as possible. The second that it starts to leave the cooler and go through the distributor, it starts to turn to gas instantly because of the temperature outside. So like if you had it in a pan under pressure and just release it in there, it would just poof, gas instantly, because of it boils at like, I forget, it boils, I might say this wrong, at like -200.
More than likely.
Fahrenheit?
Yeah. It boils.
Liquid nitrogen's about 430 to liquid state.
Something crazy like that. And so that's why like it turns to a gas, because it's boiling. Like you boil water,
Right.
and it turns to a gas, but you have to do that at a high temperature. Anhydrous turns into a liquid from a liquid to a gas at that low temperature. And so it's in a cooler or in an anhydrous tank, and it's under pressure. It's liquid in there because of the pressure. And then what the cooler does inside that cooler, that anhydrous comes out of there at a high pressure, and what they do is they spiral it around in there to keep it cool. The temperature and the rapid moves that it makes throughout that spiral keeps it cool just long enough to make it through the flow meter.
Keeps the molecules mixed up. So yeah, I see what you're saying.
And so it comes out of the cooler, goes through the flow meter, and we can now meter it as a liquid. But as soon as it's leaving that, it's turned into a gas.
I gotcha.
That's why when a guy raises his anhydrous bar on the end, it just smokes. Well, that's because it is instantly changing from a liquid to a gas. And I probably screwed some of that up, but that's I used to be able to describe that more accurately, but
A lot of people seem like they're getting away from anhydrous.
Yeah, the danger of it is definitely an increasing issue. Just a lot of older guys are turning over hands, and they're like, you know what? I really don't want my grandkids around this stuff and having to run it and whatnot. And so that's where I'm really seeing it, is a really big move to the liquid side of it. But you know, I think there's
logistics too.
Yeah, logistics is a big part of it. out in Illinois, it'd be really hard to pry that stuff out of those guys' hands because they can get it logistically a lot easier.
Well, it's not only that, but it's the pre-plant anhydrous. They can apply it in the fall.
Yeah.
And their soil will hold it. Mm-hmm. So they like this fall, we had such a dry fall and a nice fall. Mm-hmm. All their nitrogen's probably already there, so they don't even need
to side dress this year
or on the planter.
Yeah,
they don't need it. It's out there. They already did it in November, and so. But another big reason is there's a lot more rules and regulations on anhydrous. So a lot of the co-ops, in order to get up to code, have to invest a lot of money.
Right.
Yeah,
and so we've sold a lot of nitrogen bars to different places just because their local co-op cannot provide it anymore. And so it's like, well, I guess I'm going to liquid. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of different things. And, if you want to do anhydrous today, you got to either have them feed you tanks or you have to go feed tanks. And versus if you buy some Enduraplast tanks, you can just on farm store it, roll over to your tank, fill up, and you can run all night without having anyone on the road.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying a regular everyday farmer can't have an anhydrous tank on their farm. It has to be at a co-op.
They can, but it be highly regulated.
Yeah, because it's got to be so far from different places.
Right.
Like even co-ops deal with, it's got to be so far from like a school and.
Yeah,
I see.
And I'm sure the insurance on something like that's
astronomical.
Yeah,
pretty crazy. Yeah, I mean it. Yeah, so I do know of some farmers that do have on-farm anhydrous, but it has to make sense, and to most guys it doesn't. Whereas, like I know in Ohio, you can have the dike stuff, but you can get a 2,500 gallon tank and just set it on the ground, and not have to worry about a dike.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. If you go over that, you have to have a dike, and that dike has to hold 1.5 times the amount of the largest tank in your dike.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those deals to where there's kind of like a gray area, because they say you can have as many 2,500 gallon tanks on your property. It doesn't really matter to not have a dike, basically. And I believe the same rules and regulations are the same way in Indiana as they are, but as soon as you go,
you only have one.
I think
three.
The guy was telling me you could only have three in this at the same location.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean,
like I said, there's some gray areas there to where it's like whatever. But I like guys will ask me that, and I'm like, I don't know. I just sell the product that holds it, man. I don't know.
Yeah,
call your state chemist.
Yeah, I don't know. But like, the guys buying the big 10,000 gallon tanks, I mean, they're going to have a whale of a dike.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to have a dike that holds 15,000.
Or these guys that are getting 30,000 gallon stainless tanks and everything else. And it's like,
you got to have 45,000
with the price of what concrete is.
Well, and the price of stainless.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the price of the concrete to build the dike.
Yeah.
Like that's a big dike, but I guess it wouldn't have to be concrete, but still.
Ideally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
all comes down to the dollars and cents.
Yeah.
Yeah. And efficiency and what works best.
When you ain't making dollars, you ain't making sense.
That's right.
Right. Exactly.
That's right.
But,
well, we're probably creeping up on our time. It's 5:15, and it's probably time to get home before we all get yelled at.
Yep.
I've been in the doghouse before.
Probably with me and Cody.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, we all have. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I enjoyed this podcast. Sitting down with everyone. It's something we need to do more often. I try to do one of them a week.
Yeah.
But that's even kind of hard to do. Just to sit down, take an hour, and chat about whatever in the world's going on. But it's fun. I think listeners enjoy it. I enjoy doing them, and I want to thank you guys for taking an hour of your time to.
Thanks for having me. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it won't be the last one.
Okay, I'm sure not.
Yeah.
I was going to say there's too much knowledge that we haven't even brushed on that's up there.
Yeah, I got useless facts. That's
Life
what
experience.
I got.
Yeah. How old are you, Sam?
I am 37.
37.
I'll be 38 next month.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. So we'll have donuts next week or next month.
I'm having.
Did you ever bring in donuts for the new one?
I did not.
See, that's kind of a thing.
I know it's a thing, and I'll do it.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm having a kid next month and a birthday next month. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Double donuts, maybe.
Yep.
Cool.
That's what we'll do. Yeah. I'll just get 2 dozen.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, guys, we appreciate you listening, and this was a fun podcast, and we look forward to more. So thanks to everyone for tuning in.
Yep. Thanks, guys.